Magnificent aircraft. Just seen the F-111. These aircraft now harken back to the Second World War. Heading off to their holding point to return for their display a little bit later on. We'll be able to give you a full description of Aura and the RAAF that's led to one of the great exhibits that will be flying here today. And now, of course, the unmistakable sounds of the Rolls-Royce Merlin, the North American Mustang. The North American design fuselage and the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine was the perfection of this design. Originally flown with the Allison engine, which was lower altitude rated, it was later converted over by North American and Rolls-Royce. They trial fitted some Merlins out of the Spitfire, came up with the superlative aircraft of the Second World War.
It's interesting now that Rolls-Royce don't actually own the Rolls-Royce car anymore. They still build all the jet engines. So there's quite a lot of water gone under the bridge since those days. And how many Mustangs do we have here today, Pete?
We have 4 out of the 7 that are currently flying in Australia. We're very, very lucky to have them here.
All in private ownership?
All in private ownership, except one, which is owned by the RAAF Museum. And as we said, I suppose you could say Dave Gardner actually owns it, because we've got the ones from Judy Pay and Dick Hurrigan. And it's just great to see them here, because the amount of work that goes into restoring and particularly maintaining them, this is what the guys want to do. They want to be able to display it for you, and display it not to the limits, but also give you an idea of what it is like to hear these aircraft. So we'll just go silent for a second to let you hear the sound of that fantastic Merlin engine. A few Latin American air forces used them, and some were involved in what they call the soccer war. Mostly today, highly treasured warbird aircraft, probably worth about 6 times what they were when they were produced brand new by North American. But a lot of people say that Mustangs are overrepresented in warbird ranks, and that's principally because that aircraft had a lot greater use post-war in the various air RAAFs by the RAAF Museum, flown today by Darcy O'Connor.
The aircraft is, because it's what's called a tail dragger, and you don't see that many tail draggers around today. Most of them are tricycle undercarriage, and when you've got a tail dragger and you apply the power, there is so much power as the old windshield, it's very much a different aircraft.
The wing aircraft going out to the south and then doing a brake turn back towards the crowd.
And quite a capable little helicopter. Are they used just for training?
They're primarily used for training. We actually have one aircraft on board HMAS Success currently up to the north of Australia, assisting with the shipborne operations up there.
Ben, these aircraft have been in service with the Royal Australian Navy since...
Performance is just magic.
There's Doug Hamilton and Andrew Bishop taking off in the Lockheed Hudson Temora Aviation Museum, and Matt Denning flying in Jim Wally's.
Because that's the secret of aviation, in fact. You do need to have the same numbers of landings as you had takeoffs. And of course the Temora and the HARS, or the Historic Aircraft Restoration Society, and the Temora Aviation Museum both really hold Australia's best restored aircraft.
And ready, this is a generational shot of aircraft ranging right the way through from the Second World War till this day. Leading the formation, we have the Lockheed Hudson, the Meteor, we have the F-111, the Super Hornet, Mustang in the back there. Boomerang over on the right-hand side. Now, to keep that formation going requires a huge amount of skill there.
Up to 16 degrees. We've got the other aircraft, the little Boomerang, going flat out, trying to keep up with the
He's
rest
nose
of the guys.
down,
yeah.
the angle of attack, that alpha on the on the left-hand side. The bomber formation, led today by the Timor Aviation Museum, Doug Hamilton and Andy Bishop in the Hudson, Matt Denning in the Boomerang. We have Al Clements, a serving officer in the RAAF, flying the Timor's Meteor. That F-111 and that beautiful Hornet, that new aircraft there. And bringing up the rear, we have Jeff Trappin, the Mustang.
Do that from a height are not yet available, so it'll be interesting when we transition to the 737, when you start running jet aircraft down low level, you're not going to have the same range and longevity over a given place as the Orion. So the Orion still has some capability that has not yet been replaced.
100 horsepower, and basically crew of up to about 13 people, fully manned.
Yep, 13's about the average, and you've got a galley on board. You can cover the lads on board that are down the back are pretty good cooks with this funny little oven we've got on board, and they can knock up some pretty good food. On the other hand, the junk food buyers are pretty good at buying their sort of share, so it depends. The quality of food often depends on the individual, but it's a great aircraft to spend some time. Got the toilet, got the table down the back, got a couple of racks, got to actually hang up there at probably 5,000 to 10,000 on 2 engines if we have to stay over one spot in the ocean.
Of course, one of the things that you'll see on this particular pass, as we mentioned, we're talking about the disposable armament of this aircraft. You'll see the bomb bay open on this particular pass, and if you have a look under the rear fuselage, you'll see all of these dots, and they're actually the chutes from which the